Today we're going to be taking a look at 75396 Desert Skiff and Sarlacc Pit. This set will be releasing in just about a week from now on August 1st with 558 pieces and a retail price of $80 US, possibly making this one of the most overpriced sets of all time. On the bright side though, it is part of celebrating the 25th anniversary of LEGO Star Wars, so because of that it comes with an exclusive 25th anniversary Nub minifigure, and this is actually the first time LEGO has ever made him. I thought he came in the 2014 B-Wing, but no, that was Nub all along, and I guess I didn't know. So it's very exciting that we are finally seeing this iconic character in this set. And then taking a look at the back of the box, you're going to find another render of the Desert Skiff and the Sarlacc Pit, along with multiple pictures showing all of the play features. And also, speaking of the box in general, I know I've said this time and time again this year with these sets, but the 25th anniversary box art is one of the best box arts LEGO has ever made. I don't know what it is, it's just super bright and appealing, and I think it looks really great. But now actually digging into the box, on the inside you're going to find 6 numbered bags, along with these 2 loose brown wire pieces, and not one but 2 separate instruction manuals. And now moving on to the minifigures, first up here we have Han Solo, and for the most part he looks about as good as he needs to look. There is no leg printing, but at the same time he doesn't necessarily need it, and as you can see he does have a double-sided face print, with the second face being his sort of closed eye look. And then next up here we have Luke Skywalker, and I think he looks great. I really like the gray and the black combination. It isn't necessarily accurate, but at the same time I do think it just looks pretty dang good. And if you're wondering, yes, this Luke Skywalker is exclusive. He does have different printing than the one that came in the final dual diorama from last year, and he too also has a double-sided face. Then next up here we have one of the best figures in this set, being Lando Calrissian in his guard disguise, and I think he looks incredible. His helmet mold is awesome, and he has pretty much flawless printing from head to toe, as well as some pretty nice back printing here, and just like Han and Luke, he too has a double-sided face. Then next up here we have Boba Fett, which is the controversial and sort of hot topic for this set, and before I get into that, I do have to say this figure on its own does look very good. He's got great printing all around, even underneath his jetpack on the back, as well as very nice arm printing on both arms. Although the main problem and the reason this figure is controversial is because this is the episode 5 version of Boba Fett, and clearly this is an episode 6 set. If you don't know the difference, in episode 6 his armor is not supposed to be light blue, it's actually supposed to be more of a gray color, and they got this right with the Desert Skiffs in the past, and they even included his green pauldron, but in this one they messed up and gave us the episode 5 version of Boba Fett, and on top of that he doesn't have his pauldron. And I think the reason that this is the wrong Boba Fett is because this is the exact same Boba Fett that was in the mech from last year, which is kind of based off of episode 5 if you'd say, and I would love to give LEGO the benefit of the doubt, but this just seems too obvious. I think they just didn't want to design a new Boba Fett, and they already had this one in production, so they just decided to throw him in this set, and that's honestly really disappointing. We haven't gotten an episode 6 Boba Fett in a very long time, and this was our chance to see an upgraded one with arm printing, and they didn't give it to us. They were lazy and gave us another episode 5 version. On the bright side though, Nub looks really good. LEGO did a pretty much perfect job with this figure. I really don't have much to say. He just looks really dang good all around, and this is probably going to be a selling point for this set for a lot of people. And like the other 25th anniversary figures, he does come with the 25th anniversary stand that you can connect to the stands of the other 25th anniversary figures and make a little display. And then very last and pretty much least, we have Chewbacca. There's not much to see here. This is the same Chewbacca that we have literally been getting for about a decade now, I think. But I mean, it works and he still holds up with the other figures. At this point, Chewbacca is kind of just like one of the battle droids. If it isn't broke, don't fix it. Now, besides Boba Fett being inaccurate, which is pretty much unacceptable for $80, the rest of the figures look really good. However, there is one figure that's missing that this set desperately needed, and later you'll see why this is more of a problem, but it's a weak-way guard. And the reason this set needs it is because there's literally no antagonists in this set besides Boba Fett. If you look on the box art, literally all of the main good guy characters are on the skiff by themselves, and there's no weak-way guard in sight, and I just think it looks a bit goofy. And on top of that, there are supposed to be weak-way guards in the upcoming UCS sail barge in October, which just doesn't make much sense. In the movie, they were seen on the Desert Skiffs, they weren't really seen inside the sail barge, so why couldn't LEGO just add one into this set? And for how overpriced this set is, I think we could have easily gotten 8 figures, the extra one being the weak-way guard obviously, but if LEGO just wants to cheap out that much, I think they should have just put Lando in the UCS sail barge and put a weak-way guard in this set. It would have made way more sense for playability, and this version of Lando is not necessarily a super popular character. He's not Captain Rex, so I don't think any kids would really care that he's not in this set. But now moving on to the actual builds themselves, I think they both look really good. First, taking a look at the Sarlacc Pit here, a lot of people online are talking about how they don't like how many sand pieces there are and how big and tall it is, but I honestly really like the way that this looks. I just like terrain and LEGO sets in general, and I think they did a great job with the sand here, and I also just really like how they raised it off the ground and then lowered the middle end and actually tried to make it look like it's a pit. They sold it pretty well, and I'm actually pretty impressed with it. Another thing people don't like is that the back end is kind of just bare bones. There's just a black Technic piece back here, but this doesn't even matter at all because if you're displaying it, you can just face this in towards the wall and it still looks really good on display. Another thing you might have noticed on the back is that there are these two levers right here, and if you turn them, you can actually make both the tentacles move, and I think it looks really great. This is an awesome play feature that's very simple, but at the same time just fun to play with because it looks really cool and makes it look like it's actually alive. The beak, on the other hand, has to be manually opened and closed, I mean, which isn't a bad thing, and if you're wondering, it's just connected via these clips, and if you want, you can grab one of your minifigures, maybe Boba Fett, and put him in the mouth, which does kind of sound like a goofy idea, but I'm not gonna lie, it looks really cool, and this would definitely be a great way to display this Sarlacc pit. And then towards the middle on the inside, there are some teeth pieces and a few dark tan pieces to add some extra detail. Now, one slight problem I have with this build is around the inside, it's just a bit too open and a bit too flat. I think it would have helped a lot if the tentacles were maybe just one stud closer to the beak, or if there were tentacles on the front and the back as well, and not just on the two sides. To me at least, it just looks a bit too spacey around the mouth area and the tentacles, but for the most part, with the Sarlacc pit as a whole, they did a very good job, and I'm pretty impressed with it. Now, taking a look at the desert skiff, I think it looks pretty much flawless. I'm honestly kind of speechless with how good this is. Now, you could say that it shouldn't be tan, it should be more of a dark brown color, but I mean, I don't think it really matters because if you look at pictures of desert skiffs, sometimes they're dark brown, sometimes they're tan, and sometimes they're gray, so I don't think it really matters that LEGO chose this color. On the front here, you're gonna have some really nice shaping as well as this wire piece that kind of goes around and adds for some nice detail, and if you want, this is a really good place to sit Han and Chewie in their handcuffs. And then towards the middle here, this railing piece can swing open, and then on the other side there is this little circular tile that you can push that actually makes the plank come out. It's super easy, it's just plates sliding on top of each other and it works really well. And then obviously you can take Luke Skywalker and sit him on the end of the plank. Although the problem is, who is actually behind him making him walk off? The only figures behind him are Lando, Han, and Chewie. Yes, Lando is on the desert skiff in the scene, but he's not the one making Luke walk off. It's a weakway guard. Again, it should have had one. And then it gets even worse. Towards the back here, you can see a very nice looking control panel or control station, two joysticks, whatever you want to call it. They look really good. Like I said, this desert skiff is pretty much flawless, although there's unfortunately no weakway guard to drive the skiff. You could throw Boba Fett back here, but that looks really goofy and is not accurate to the scene at all. So I guess Luke, Han, and Lando just drove the desert skiff to the Sarlacc pit because they wanted to, and Luke is walking the plank because he feels like it. Anyways, on the bright side, the very back of the skiff also looks very good. There's these four thrusters back here that are kind of staggered and give off a really cool look, and then you also have the two large fin pieces back here with a really nice use of the sun hat piece. They can move up and down and sort of twist here, and you can position them how you want. However, I think they look best when you sort of angle them down like this. And then if you're wondering what the bottom looks like, there's really nothing to see, just the bottom of the plates and then these transparent pieces that hold it up and sort of make it appear like it's hovering. And speaking of those transparent pieces holding it up, the actual desert skiff itself is not much taller than the Sarlacc pit. You can just barely have the plank over the actual mouth, but I think it looks a bit crammed. So in my opinion, the best way to display it is just like this, just space them out a little bit. Now the builds and the figures that actually belong in this set, especially Nien Nunb, are really the only thing this set has going for it. Again, the price is just absolutely terrible. $80 for this. I don't care about price per piece. I don't care about price per gram. This is not even close to $80. I think at most it should have been $65. They might have been able to get away with $70, but $65 preferably. $80 just way too much. But again, like I said, the builds are really nice, and Nien Nunb is an awesome figure, and so is Lando. So if you ever find this set on sale for below $70, I would highly recommend that you pick it up for the Sarlacc pit build, the desert skiff build, and for Nien Nunb. But for $80, unless you just for some reason really want it, I would just not get this set. So again, the builds are great, the figures that belong in this set are great, although they gave us an episode 5 version of Boba Fett, and there is not a weekly guard when there very clearly should be one, and the price again is just atrocious. So I'm feeling a pretty generous 7.8 out of 10. I would give it a 7.5, but again, those builds are really good, so I'm gonna give it 0.3 points and make it a 7.8. Let me know what you guys think about this set down in the comments below. If you're new, please consider subscribing, and if you want to check out more of my videos, you can see them on the end screen right now.